second special board meeting, which is a strategic plan workshop. Our board president, Brandon Ewing, is on his way. He will be here shortly, so I am taking over as vice president just until he gets here. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Riddle?
Present.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak here. Mr. McBride?
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez? Present. Ms. Leguizamo? Present. President Ewing is not here yet.
He is not here yet, he's being short. Okay, if we could,
Oh, Ms. Hammond, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm here.
okay, and I'd like to mention that, Marvin Bramby, is our consultant who has worked with us, worked for District 60, previously, and he will be our facilitator tonight for this strategic workshop. If we could, move to, public comment, item 3, and we have, 2 people who have signed up, so, public comment, again, is an opportunity for the public to, present comment to us, it's not a back and forth. We listen to what the public have to say, and everyone will have 3 minutes of public comment allowed. First name on the list is Ray Vukovich. You can start on this timer.
Good evening. Just wanted to take this opportunity since you are meeting and there is public comment, just to talk about the ongoing saga that I have here with trying to get information. I have a FOIA that was submitted on May the 1st, and I've had communication from the FOIA officer, and there was some on the 18th of May telling that it would be coming out in batches, and then last Thursday, I inquired as to where we were with that, and I copied the board president as well as the general counsel. And the reply back the next day was that the general counsel had to review the information and that she would be working on it over the weekend. Well, that was 6 days ago. There have been 3 business days since then, and I'm still waiting on that information. It's going to be interesting because June 1st, I FOIA'd the identical information, but for the month of May. So it's going to be interesting to see how long it's going to take to get this information. And that is the duty of the board to make sure that this kind of stuff is done. And then the other thing is your closed minutes, your closed meetings. I had FOIA'd that and was denied because you hadn't done anything with that. And I did send that to the Attorney General's office and they did agree. However, since that time, and I wish Mr. Ewing was here because you had a special meeting on the 17th of May, right before the committee meetings. And he verbally from that chair indicated what you'd done in the closed session. It was personnel, some legal, and he specifically said reviewed and approved closed session minutes. That's not the law. You can review them in the closed session. It has to be approved out here. Twice a year, at a minimum, Board of Education is supposed to, at a public meeting, either say, here's a list of minutes that we still have to keep confidential, here's a list of minutes that we can release. The public should not have to hunt and peck. And I've had a conversation at length with the Attorney General's office on that, and they conclude that it is the board's responsibility to make sure that that's done at an open board meeting. So I know you meet in 2 weeks. I hope that will be rectified at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vukovich. Next name on the list is Ray Edwards. Sir, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Just like Mr. Vukovich, since we had public comments, I thought that it would be necessary to come up here to speak about a couple of things that you guys are keep blowing smoke down the community back about. We still have staff being locked in a room downstairs, just sitting there. Y'all haven't done nothing. You can't say we haven't came here and told you guys this because we have, and y'all still not doing nothing. So that is starting to be blatantly disrespectful to the public because we voted for y'all to be on here. A lot of nepotism going on around here. So our financial aid director, pastor is giving this. Is that transparency? Is we not looking at things like this? So we just gonna keep on rubbing elbows in the eyes of the community without us noticing it? Y'all think we don't figure things out like this? That we don't see things? That's not transparency, y'all. That is not what we put y'all on this board to be doing. It's wrong. It's real wrong. And the fact that all of y'all are sitting there and y'all constantly allowing this to go on, it is wrong. You guys supposed to publish these minutes. You're not doing that. We shouldn't have to keep coming up here to remind y'all what y'all job and duty is. And I'm confused and I'm not understanding why. Please help me understand this. Y'all sit here and y'all look at us and y'all blow smoke up our back and tell us y'all gonna do this, you're gonna do that, or we're looking at this, or we're talking about this, we're talking about that, and then 2 weeks, a month, 3 months later, we coming back. Y'all give the teachers $1,000 if y'all looked at how much that's gonna be when you're done breaking it down. Because if I was a teacher, I'd have threw it back at y'all. You're giving crumbs to our teachers like they're dogs. And they're doing more work than half of these department heads can even imagine. It is starting to be so disrespectful that y'all got this community so enraged and so angry, and we're tired of coming here to talk. We at the point to where we're not going to keep talking. I'm serious, y'all. Our schools have failed. They are terrible. We don't have a high school principal going up in there, and y'all going to think it's okay to put Tim Bryant back up in there? Well, you got school board members that's going back and forth with me on Facebook admitting that he's not good for the high school, that he shouldn't be there, but still voting on putting him back there because you can't find nobody when we got qualified people in our district that can do that, but because our superintendent is threatened by their smarts and their ability to be strong and passionate about loving their community, who knows more about this community than she does, who works for who. Please, let's start there and explain that to us. Please. I'm tired.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Okay, again, public comment is not a back and forth, but we do listen to these comments and we do take some action on those. Okay, we're going to move now to item 4, which is our workshop. We'll begin our strategic workshop with, again, Marvin Brembry. So I think we'll move down below.
All right, good evening.
Welcome to stay for the workshop.
It's up here, we might have to.
Wherever you're comfortable, we're gonna do a group activity later, so we'll be moving around anyways, but wherever you're comfortable. So, okay. Needs everyone settled? All right. You'll have the deck, you have a hard copy in front of you, and then you have it up here too. Okay, so, I just wanna say good evening, board members, superintendent, members of the community. We're here today to take the board through a workshop regarding Destination 2028. So today, I'm going to be joined by Marvin Bundry. So Mr. Bundry is going to assist us today and facilitate some activities so that we can gather more information. So say a few words, Mr. Lynn?
Sure, thank you very much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be able to work with the district again in this strategic planning activity. I am proud of the work that you've done in your 22 plan, and we look forward to the process of augmenting that, getting input to make the 28 plan even better. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Mr. Bunbury. So today's objectives are really to provide an overview of the proposed strategic planning process. So what we're going to do is just go over the process that we're going to use to engage stakeholders in gathering information and feedback. Also, we'll share with the board where we've been, what we've been doing, celebrate areas of success, and discuss opportunities for growth. And then facilitate a reflection with the board and discuss a vision for Destination 2028. So on this next slide, you'll see that we have a definition of what strategic planning is and what a strategic plan is, right? So the planning is the process, right? And really, the planning articulates not only where we've been, but where we're going, and then the actions that are going to be necessary to get there, to reach our vision. And not only that we have those actions, but that there's a system of accountability tied to that. And so we know that last year we spent some time and we launched the Framework for Success, and we use a digital platform so that our folks can see their progress on their goals and be provided with the system of support. And so that is going to be utilized within this to help monitor our goals, have them be public facing, so that we can look at these regularly. And then, again, the plan is going to be something that is outward facing, and I think you're going to really like the fact that this is not just gonna be a one and done, right? So it's going to be an ongoing, it'll be a plan that is moving, right? And that is adjustable based on the data that's collected and our progress towards reaching goals.
Just a question, Mr. Sario, the strategic plan, is that based off of the goals of the board?
We're gonna build off of the plans from Destination 2022, but then today is a conversation about where we're going and some of the existing plans that we have. Some of the existing plans that we have, for example, the curriculum writing plan, high school transformation, middle school redesign. So some of those that you've already approved and you've examined,
Right.
we've looked at.
Right, I understand that, but in order for there to be a strategic plan, Destination 2028, Destination 2022, there first should be the established goals
Well, that's where we're,
of the Board of Education for the entire district.
so you had asked me earlier if we had created the plan already, and no, we have not created the plan. I just wanna make that clear, and I'll just reemphasize, thank you for that question, that this is really, this overview is about showing what the process will be, what it'll be, and then also really kicking off this reflective process, so we'll start talking about where we've been, where we wanna go, and what the needs are in this conversation today. So part of this presentation is just the plan, talking about the process, okay? Okay, so again, as I just mentioned, next slide, we're gonna build off Destination 2022. And again, I mentioned this as well with the Framework for Success, that we wanna make sure that we're regularly monitoring these goals, that we have goals that we're monitoring, but that we're also providing support. And if we need to make adjustments, then we make adjustments. But that we're also articulating this at different times of the year. I'm gonna go more into that, a little bit more into that late in a few more slides. But really, it's really a shift from action to activity oriented, right? Moving from a checklist to a rubric. And then it runs the whole district. So pre-K to post-secondary. There'll be a focus on equity. And then, talking about, again, the work with the Board of Ed, which starts right here today, facilitating kind of a walkthrough and a reflection of where we've been, celebrating areas of success, and then discussing areas of continued growth. Next slide, please, Lee. All right, and so the other main component of this, again, is our stakeholders. So you'll see there, we have a list of stakeholders, everyone who's included, and really we want to gather input from all these groups. And we're going to use a similar process that we're using in this workshop today with other stakeholders groups. And that will take really the form of surveys, focus groups, YouTube, meetings, workshops, so that we're providing an ability for people to provide input. Okay, some of the features of Destination 2028, next slide please. And this is different than the current plan, is that we're going to be able to regularly monitor and adjust these plans. We have, again, I keep mentioning the framework for success and the use of responsibility. I think it's important that we're regularly checking on these goals, right? And then it's outward facing. So we'll have dashboards so that the public can see certain metrics, how we're doing, where we're doing with initiatives and with certain goals. We're really working on having schools and departments also have their own dashboards so that they can also see where they're going, where they were, where they are, and where they need to be. And as I mentioned earlier in the previous slide about the stakeholders, we want to make sure that we're engaging the entire community. And so we'll have regular opportunities at beginning of year, middle of year, end of year, to talk about those areas of growth, but also talk about those areas of needed improvement. And make those adjustments to those plans as needed. So it's not, we're gonna make a plan right now, and then we're gonna check it 6 years from now. We're going to be regularly monitoring those goals. The focus areas, again, and as I mentioned earlier to Ms. Hannah, are really, some of these are, we have some existing plans and existing goals around curriculum writing, middle school redesign, high school transformation under academic supports and programs. On the operations and the finance side, next slide, where, again, capital improvement plan was part of the work that was in the previous plan, Destination 2022. We're going to continue with that. Talk about future development, expansion and enhancements. And then also, we're continuing the work that was done around site-based budgeting. Next slide, please. Okay, this part really speaks to the stakeholder engagement, and I've alluded to this in really talking about a reflection on the last 5 years. What success did we have? What are areas of continued growth? Gathering feedback in a number of different, utilizing a number of different mediums. Surveys, focus groups, town halls, social media. Making sure that we're doing this and that we're providing opportunities throughout the summer. And here, perfect timing. So we want to start this. This is the kickoff, if you will. And we're going to take feedback from tonight from the board to make adjustments to move forward with our plan. And then also start moving to the fall. And then continue to gather data and input. And then have a presentation in December. And then we would like to finalize it at that point, and then kick off our year one implementation in January. I'll stop here before we move into the next section to see if there are any questions from board members. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bembry, who's going to take us through a couple of activities to help facilitate some of our reflective thoughts and ideas on this. So, Mr. Bundry?
Thank you, Dr. Cesario.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here today. So we're going to start our conversation now by doing kind of a mini SWOT. And we're going to break you up into some groups. In fact, perhaps we'll use the tables as they're currently situated for the groups. We're going to do a mini SWOT. So when we talk about a SWOT, we're talking about SWOT, right? Your SWOT stands for your strengths. That is the areas where you are performing well. Your weaknesses, areas where you're underperforming. And then the opportunities are those that derive out of both your strengths and your weaknesses. And then your threats are those areas that have potential opportunity to damage the organization. So what we're going to do is ask you in your tables to really think about the last 5 years with the district, and ask you to think about what are the areas where the district has performed well, what are the areas where the district has underperformed, or as Dr. Cesario said, there are opportunities, right? And then what are some of those opportunities perhaps that we have not yet realized that if we had some focus on them, that they could really accrue a lot of benefit to the district. And then the threat piece, what are we not seeing, or perhaps we are seeing, that could potentially impact negatively the district? All right, so I think members of some of the administration may join you for this conversation. We're going to ask you in your group to select a person to record your thoughts, and someone that's going to report out to the regular group or to the rest of us. And we're going to give you about 12 minutes or so to do this activity. Yes, sir.
Just this for the board, can you got audience participation?
That's what I
The
was
reason I'm
just
saying that
asking.
because you put in your, you said stakeholders in your,
Yes.
in your presentation, but they are stakeholders.
They are stakeholders. I'll leave that to you guys. So, Mr. Ewing, so we do have planned some meetings to directly engage the community. We have some that we're going to directly engage them. Tonight, we wanted to hear the voice of the board. That was our plan, but Mr. President Ewing, your thoughts.
So yeah, they are here to, this opportunity, as me and you talked about, Ms. Hannah, is to hear the voice of the board that sets the ends. So the community is definitely here to kind of hear the discussion, see the discussion is being viewed and live streamed, and there are plans to involve the entire community, but this was kind of the work of the board. So that's what tonight's workshop was. It's a meeting in public.
Okay, I think my only comment to that is that we are active individuals in the community, and we have even staff members that are here. We've got parents that are here, and I think it would benefit us, even as a board, to include them, because they
said, but as parents, as mothers, single mothers, or people of the work, I mean, are we supposed to look at the website every day to see when you guys are gonna come up with a meeting so the community is able to see, you know, what's going on? Maybe use a robocall, send out that, hey, we're having a special meeting or whatnot. That's like transparency. This kind of feels like, oh, thank God, some of us found out, and then we amongst ourselves,
So it was emailed, out, and anytime we post on the website when meetings are noticed, it also goes out through the flag, so we can talk about how to
Okay.
increase that. But
Okay.
it was emailed out, so I do apologize.
Okay.
Typically, when we talk about it, schedule, they have to be posted 2 days before the event.
So the email went out 2 days before the event?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the standard, you have 2 days prior to whenever you decide to have a meeting to let, okay.
So
just
it's
wanted to
48
know.
hours for it to be
48
posted.
hours.
And again, with this one, because I don't want people coming and saying, hey, I want to dive into the conversation, again, anybody's welcome to come and see,
Okay.
but exactly, some people came expecting to be a part of the workshop.
Mhm.
And that wasn't the purpose of the meeting, where when we have those meetings that are, some community stakeholders give feedback, those are obviously going to be marketed and told that that's the expectation and given them the 2 days notice.
Got it.
But the public, the standard notice that we have to give for our public meetings is 2 days.
48 hours, got it. Thank you, Mr. Ewing.
Well, I just wanna make one last comment, it's the reason I brought it up, because I looked up the workshop. And one thing that I really ingrained in my mind is that, and which I do understand, is when the community comes, you speak from down here to us, but at the same time, what I got from the workshop, what's more important to me, the city guys being on the menu need to be at the table. Because we'll find out when you're at the table, we all want the same thing.
I agree.
All right, excellent. So,
Sir, can I say something? Mr. Ewing, I did not get a email, and I'm not a parent, but I am an active community. So how do you inform the community about these?
So, and I'm sorry to interrupt you guys, so we asked Kyle, the reason I called on Mr. Jackson,
Okay.
there's an email list that he can talk about how that notice process.
So for the ones that don't have a child in the district, it is just okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Good evening, everyone. So if you would like to get information on board notices, the board notices get emailed out through our Priority Mail 60 system, which anyone can sign up for. You can be a parent, a community member, you can live on the other side of the world and just love watching us on YouTube, and you can sign up for that. If you want to see me, how to find that, it's pretty easy on our website. There's a link, you can give your email address, it's confirmed, and then you will begin to receive all those notices. Generally, they go out at like 1 p.m., 2 days before. So it's like 56 hours in advance or so. But come see me, I can help you find it. It's called Priority Mail 60, and that's something we started back in 2010 or so.
Yeah,
So
because I was on that list and I haven't received, so if you don't.
we can check to see if you, it's very easy for people to accidentally unsubscribe themselves. It happens a lot. And it's done through a third-party form. And so once you unsubscribe, we're gonna have to work with you to resubscribe you, because I can't physically resubscribe you without your authorization. So we can work on that, and we can get your email back on there. It's something people accidentally click the unsubscribe button barely.
No, I never did, just like the Ms.
No, you may have
said.
never been subscribed.
Well,
to
no, I
Priority
did,
Mail
you had
60.
told me, it was funny because I was unsubscribed and we figured it out at a different meeting.
Yes, and that was on a
So,
different mailing
It's just
list.
kind of funny that you get booted out, but okay, thank you, we'll just.
Absolutely. Happy to help out anyone who wants assistance with that.
Absolutely, thank you.
all right, great. So we're gonna go ahead and move forward then. Thanks very much. We're going to now ask the board to reflect on those areas in which we talked about, the strengths, what you've observed over the last 5 years for the district, weaknesses, that is areas where perhaps we're underperforming, opportunities that are derived out of those strengths and weaknesses, as well as what do you see that could be potentially damaging and a threat for the district over the next 5 years. So we're gonna give you about 12 minutes. We're gonna give you till, we'll start off with about 6:47 or so, and see where we are there, and then we'll move on. So just have some open discussion there.
Yeah.
All right, how's it going, man? All right, all right.
She's reporting, you're reporting, or vice versa. Could you just start out with, like, you want me to start? So, it's kind of a
We're doing 12 minutes for each one. So we can call here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay.
should be, and I think that would, cover a lot of areas, something different, do that. I mean, something that would give them strength, and add to each. Also, need,
I consider that to be a strength, but there are, still some areas of.
Okay, no longer
Or for me,
is
when
a
it comes to
large
base, like, not all of the schools have a strong base liaison.
where we
And because of that, you can see the difference in parents and parent involvement.
resident
And then schools, so there's also some schools that are not,
in the district.
advocating.
But now we are no longer.
Working with the integrated schools, right?
I think there could be both.
So, the
I think
opportunity.
there could be both.
I would not see it as weakness, but, I mean, I just think that, I don't think it's a weakness, but maybe our program, because ideally,
So, I mean, based on the decision we seem to,
we have a lot of opportunities out there.
putting out one fire after another
We have, we're not tapping in.
So that, I think that would be, the opportunity is like, what do we see as an opportunity for us to improve? Where do we see opportunities for us to get better?
Okay, let me.
And that might be the,
When I say
And I'm
opportunity,
gonna tie.
community organization development.
you know, say, those are opportunities.
They're no longer residents of the city. And their inroads that were missing because of that. It's like, it's like we have so many issues. And they're all over the place. And there are, let me give you an example. Just one. That's all from my head. Come on, the copiers. Yeah, what from Trump. He is like a transition, absolutely. And with those families that are here and won't even, because we have
And long-term impact of, I didn't have to.
those people from our schools. We're losing influence that we have always had. And so I want to go back to opportunity. Our local people back to our school district. Yes,
That's what I was getting at. That's what
not
we're
just
doing.
teachers, every level. No, I'm not talking about lower level. I'm talking about employees and. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Absolutely. Because see, we have.
bring budget to $40. That's what I'm doing. You can tell me what the exact, what this country is. So, straight for it, get more votes. Does that make sense? Good stuff. It's much slower, and we're not working
All right, this is your 2-minute warning.
I put that up here under,
I'm saying that because some of the things that we know that need to be done, we don't make any change. So it's pretty much, we just listen to like we get ready to do now. That's what I just said, that's what we get ready to do now. So what should we approve? Right, and then.
They're buying into all of the narrative. Even though they know.
All right, let's go ahead and come back together. So I realized that this was an abbreviated and very quick SWOT. This is probably a mini SWOT. So you didn't have a lot of time to really drill down. But what we'd like to hear are some high points from each group. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to go through your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and threats in 2 minutes or less. All right, so we're going to stay at a very high level. We don't want to get granular at this point, so just at a real high level. I'm going to try to capture a couple ideas from each group. I may not get them all, and we'll try to avoid some duplicity if possible. But let's go ahead and start with this group, which to my right here. Who's your spokesperson? All right, please.
Just, okay, 2 minutes to go through just like the brief themes.
Just high level for
Okay.
strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
All right.
High level.
So for our strengths, we talked a lot about visibility, marketing, that has improved over the last 5 years. And then I think the strength of our community, we have a minority and immigrant community, a variety of different creative problem-solving opportunities to address student needs that we worked on. And then just Waukegan in general as being like a unique resource with downtown, the lake, sort of our placement.
Okay.
Weaknesses, we talked about internal communication, everyone being on the same page about our vision. And then efficiency in meetings, and for opportunities, let me know if I go too fast.
No, you're good, thank you.
For opportunities, we talked about, just getting more people involved, like we heard the community, articulate, you know, just getting everyone in the know about what we're doing, what to expect, and, doing that ahead of time. Also expanding pre-K opportunities, getting in touch with students as soon as possible, and having them stay in school as much as possible. And then tapping alumni. If there's people who in Waukegan want to be a part of our district but don't know how to be a part of it, so how can we leverage them as well? And then threats, we talked a lot about negativity on social media, and the perception against the district. It could be really detrimental for the projects that we have to address student needs if all they consume is those things. And then for me, and you know, kind of like talking in the group, I think poverty is a really huge threat to what is happening in our school districts, not only in Waukegan, but nationwide. Which I think, you know, it aids the first issue as well.
I'm sorry, what was that last statement?
That like the poverty kind of seeps into the first issue as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's go to this table.
All right, so run through these quickly, but strengths, talk about the curriculum mapping, and also how we've made it inclusive of secondary language, moving towards all-day kindergarten. There haven't been a lot of turnover at the principal level. Our community is a strength, capital improvement plan and current investment, and then the fact that we actually have an equity analysis tool for our policy review. So those are strengths.
Okay.
Weaknesses that we talked about, but we did not meet metrics laid out for student growth in our Destination 2022 plan. Time is a weakness, the amount of time and being able to get things done. Educators retention was the note that we had.
Could I just report, ask for clarification?
Yes.
With regard to the time issue, is it a matter of time or is it a matter of priorities?
It's an issue when you have competing priorities, right? And so when you have all things, you know, the urgent and important. So you have things that are important but and are urgent, and where you have time to do 10, you need to do 20.
Would you mind if I just add time and priorities to yours as well?
Yeah.
Yes, good. All right, sir.
Another weakness was culturally relevant pedagogy. As far as opportunities, we talked about increasing our pre-K participation, increasing community partnerships, continuing with our school improvement, capital improvement plans. Our FACE department was an opportunity. And then as far as threats, we talked about safety being a threat, I mean, just the actual physical safety, funding, infighting and lack of collaboration, reputation, mindsets.
Could you just speak to that reputation piece again?
Yeah, so reputation, it maybe we can combine these two, so reputation and what we put was lack of trust as a threat.
All right.
So those were the high level.
Got it. Thanks so much, sir. Appreciate that. This group here?
All right, our group got a little more granular with some of our discussions, but in terms of overall strengths, we focus on some of the performance of some of our departments. The finance department being very strong, operations and maintenance, having a strong reputation with their capital improvement plan. We talked about transportation, and the fact, one of the other strengths was just the capacity of our employees, that we feel like we have a strong, dedicated staff with a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Weaknesses, lack of community support.
Yeah.
WPS 60 is no longer the largest employer in Lake County, so we felt that was a weakness in terms of being able to attract talent to the district. I'm sorry, WPS 60 no longer the largest employer in Waukegan. Sorry.
And how did you consider that a weakness, that no longer were you the strongest or the largest employer?
I think we think it contributes to a couple of things. Being able to attract personnel, potentially declining enrollment, families are leaving the area. You had mentioned traditional family structures that have existed in the community for years, maybe potentially leaving or being broken up.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mhm. We also talked about, as another weakness, overlooking community organizations that are in Waukegan.
Okay. All right, what about opportunities?
Opportunities, engage more local resources, engage more local businesses, develop the capacity of our internal employees, almost like a grow your own, and improve our recruiting efforts with people who know the intricacies of the community. So people that are really familiar with the community, have them be a part of the recruiting process.
Okay.
And then for threats, staffing shortages was one, declining enrollment, student behavior, and then substance abuse, not only with our students, but within the broader community as well.
Okay. Great, thanks. All right, let's give yourselves a hand for taking a quick look at that. Good work, good work, good work, good work, good work. And realize this is a high level. And over the next several months, we're going to be getting more and more information that's going to help shape the administration in terms of their desires. All right, so moving right along, we're going to move into our next activity. Where's the, all right, great. So, as board president mentioned, this particular opportunity is really to hear the voice of the board with regard to the contours of the vision for 2028. And so in that sense, we want to hear from the board your thoughts about a vision for the parents, a vision for the students, a vision for staff, and a vision for the community within the context of these 6 priority areas, right? 5 priority areas. Curriculum writing, middle school redesign, high school transformation, site-based budgeting, and future development. Yes? I'm sorry? Capital improvement. Capital improvement, thank you. I thought I would say 6, right? Good. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Berman, can I ask you a question? The difference between a goal and a vision.
Yeah, yeah,
They're 2 different things, am I right?
sure.
Okay, could you tell me what a goal is?
Yeah, so a goal is what you do, it's what you point to get you to the vision. So your vision is a statement about the future. It is really future forward, and that's really what we wanted to do tonight, is to have our attention much more focused about the future. When I teach strategic planning and talk about vision, it's a dramatic picture of the future stated in present day terms. So in this sense, I want you to look beyond where we are and imagine that there were no obstacles, money, whatever, and really to think about what would our vision be for the parents, for the students, for the staff, for the community as board leaders. Let me say this. Years ago, I had a manager at where I worked, and he said, I want you to be able to look down the street and around the corner. In other words, I want you to see what you can't see right now in terms of anticipation. John Maxwell, my mentor, says it like this: leaders see more, they see more before, and they see further. So we're asking you tonight as board members to really contemplate what do I see more beyond where we are now? Take off the limitations of the present. And what do we see now for the future with regard to our parents, our students, our staff, our community, with regard to each one of these priority areas? Capital, curriculum, middle school redesign, high school transformation, site-based budgeting, and future development. Now, to aid you in doing that, thank you. Did I answer your question okay?
Well, I'm looking, well, I guess I wanna know what I've always, understood in strategic planning, that the goals have to be set first,
No. Your
okay?
vision is always first, because you don't have a goal, you can't have a goal without a vision. So vision is always first. That's why, that's the power of this kind of moment, is that we're looking for for you as leaders to begin to shape, what does that vision look like? Once that's established, then you establish goals to get you there. And goals, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-dependent. Those are the processes by which you obtain the vision. Does that make sense? Maybe a little different way,
The
but
biblical approach when you talk about people with a vision and people taking. That's what I'm thinking.
that's what you're hearing, sir? Okay.
No, I understand, but I
Yeah.
have always, understood that the Board of Education has to have the goals for the district as a whole.
So that will come. That will come through this whole process as well. Well, tonight, we're looking at vision,
Okay.
looking at the bigger picture. Where? What does that where look like? So, to help you with this, there are color-coded Post-its at each one of your tables. All right. The blue, you're gonna write on there what the vision for the parents are against each one of these areas. So this will be, I'm gonna give you just a couple of minutes to take some notes on them yourself, and then you'll get up and actually take them to the Post-it on the wall. All right, so the green is the vision for students. The orange is, I'm sorry? Okay, Nick will bring those. The orange will be the vision for staff, and the purple will be the vision for community. All right?
Okay, so this, because we don't have some of the colors you said, so blue is parents, orange is staff, pink is what? Community.
It should be in the cell.
And yellow is. Got it. I got it.
So, we're gonna give you just a few minutes to think about that, talk about it, do it individually, and then you're gonna actually go up to the Post-it chart and place them on there.
So the colors, keep in mind the colors represented.
The orange is staff, pink, purple,
here. So now, paper is out, right? And innovation, they're gonna be in there, right? So like, I could.
Are we still on parents? Do you have any,
Parents, engaged partners that are and have active ownership decisions. When I'm talking about capital improvement, that's definitely, I want them to use what's happening. What is connected to so I don't think if I just wrote here, I can take all of it out of it and say that, I want them to make sure that they're.
Because if the students had that, they can help the parents.
You can do that, and if you want to use the same one, you can do that too. There's no like hard feast rule. You know, I did the same thing. And then I thought about how does it relate to things like. Because then it becomes a little bit more specific. Because.
It's great, that's the whole thing.
it used to be like that.
That's why I asked those questions that I asked. Everything around the street being changed, because I had 40 parents. But then they gotta come back over with your kid, that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do, they want to do in class. It was just true. They made it challenging. It made me want to lie. And it's very true. When you put it out, you say, oh, we can do this or that. And then when you get there, it's this, that, this, that, this, that. They get treated. That's it. Right.
I would take this out of that information in the middle school. You know what I mean? Anyways, I think.
We're gonna give you about 2 more minutes.
And then they need more training, they need more tools, resources, and not more outdated. You know what I'm saying? And then they need to invest more. Like, if I want to say, I want to motivate you to go back. What is the motivation? That's giving out incentives. And you see, this is, you put incentives out there, these people want to earn that extra. And that's the same thing with our kids, we put more incentives. We're not challenging them more, we make it easier for them to do. And when it's easy for them, they finish it quick, and then they left with all this trauma.
All right, 1 minute, 1 minute left. As you're finishing, go ahead and go to the board. And board members, I'd like to ask you to just kind of go around to each one of the boards and take a look at what your peers have put down on each area. All right, good. So let's go ahead and put your Post-its on the board. And also take a look at what your peers have put down.
Put them where you can stay there.
Okay, okay.
Not just a piece of cake.
We took that to Facebook and then everybody, we can stop it. Yeah, that one, you know, radio. Everybody.
Yeah, they should. That's why I asked.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, have we completed that? All right, thanks very much, everyone. So thanks for your feedback into the process here. Again, tonight's focus is about vision, shaping the vision, the contours of the vision for 2028. So what I'd like to ask you as board members to do is, I'm going to give you an opportunity to select maybe one or two of these areas that you feel particularly passionate about. Just share with us just some high-level thoughts. Excuse me, no more than perhaps a minute and a half at the most. But if there's an area here that you feel particularly passionate about, curriculum writing, middle school redesign, high school transformation, site-based budgeting, capital improvement, future development, love to hear your thoughts on that, because that's useful in kind of helping us shape what the contours of the vision are. All right, so board members, please, thank you.
Okay,
Member Hannah?
I'm gonna go to, I'm gonna go to the, future development.
All right,
And one of the things that's very important is, we have got to get our internal working. And that means our staff. We have to have and I don't mean to say this, but for lack of a better term, our stock of employees have to be satisfied in their workplace. And I'm talking about physically, mentally supported, and be, you know, we can come up with all of these grandiose plans, okay, here with the board, even with Lincoln Center. However, if the staff in our school buildings are stressed out, not supported, not given resources that they need, then what are we really asking them to accomplish with our children?
got it.
Now, my other one is the high school transformation.
All right,
And right now, we need a structured environment for our students, a well-structured environment for our students. And that comes with the staff being satisfied, high morale, everything that I said in future development. It all works together.
all right, thank you very much. Member Hannah, for your thoughts. She did that very well, kind of modeled the way for us in terms of get a couple of areas, share a minute or so of feedback. All right, who's next? Board member that feels particularly passionate about one or two areas. I think I'm feeling it from you.
So, for me, I did the vision first, the overarching vision. And one that I have for students is, you know, they graduate from D60 schools with a high quality academic experience, lifelong relationships, and an elevated sense of self.
Okay.
And for staff, you know, we have a talented cohort of educators and community stewards who are committed to make students feel included and to help them succeed. And for me, I felt more strongly about this set of posters or themes, because I think in our curriculum writing, we have to have culturally empowering content, and I do see us doing that more and more, which I'm really proud of with the materials that our teachers are getting. But with the middle school and high school redesign and transformation plans, I said that students should be able to name and know the functions of every adult in their building so that they know what they do, how they're supposed to get help from them, and so all the adults in the building are on the same page about what they're providing for the student. And I think that those are gonna help the relationship building pieces for the student's experience. I don't think if we don't have that in the buildings, I don't think we can achieve the academic, rigor that we wanna achieve with the students.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your passion there. And once again, both of them have kind of spoken to a vision around how the staff, the employees are taken care of, their feeling of belonging and inclusion within the organization. All right, excellent. Yes, sir, President.
I'm all for simplicity, and so when I look at capital improvement, is we have buildings that our students, staff, parents, community are proud of. And at the end of the day, that is, I don't think it needs to be more complex than that. The other thing specific to teachers is that they have buildings that make their jobs easier as opposed to more difficult.
Could you just add a little more color to that last statement there, please?
It's kind of encapsulating, it's not being all over the place, but as we move into preparing students that will be hopefully living and alive, I mean, in 70-some years, is our classroom should reflect the future. And the things and the tools that we give our teachers should make their job easier. It shouldn't make it more complicated.
Okay.
And then, I mean, honestly, they should have classrooms, right, that they are proud to teach in, that are comfortable, that are conducive to learning. So those are all the things under the capital improvement plan that I want to see us continue.
Excellent, thank you very much. So we've heard about the staff, the sense of inclusion, belonging, trickling down to the parents, the building facilities. Also in that same sense, what else? Any other board members? What do you feel particularly passionate about that you'd like to share with us?
Well, speaking of staff, I don't think that the staff reflects the minority kid children that come to the district.
Okay.
And I think that's a problem, because number one, I watch TV, sometimes I don't see people look like me on TV, that's been all my life. And that don't give me no hope or no vision that I could be anybody, so to speak. I'm always looking at other character figures that don't look like me all day long. So even in the classroom, I need to have somebody standing in front of me that have made it in life, where I have something to look at to identify with, to say that I can do it too. And also to, that would make me even feel that they're really passionate about me. And we don't have that, and I think that's missing. And then also, not only that, it would help with some of the discipline that goes on in the building. Because somebody might see somebody that they know that they may have to see when they leave out of the building, or somebody that they know leave out of the building. So that's what I'm speaking about.
So you're speaking about a vision that, of staff and teachers that better reflect the actual community in terms of culture, race, etc. All right? Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna try I'm not gonna repeat what has already been said. So for future developments, one of the things that I hear from the community perspective is like a safety plan and what that looks like. There's an emphasis, an understanding of what that looks like. We've never really fully communicated safety, and I did not put that on there. Just wanted to, if you want to jot that in, thank you.
Give us the vision.
Yes.
What do you see in terms of safety there?
Yes, and
Yes.
you know, there's a lot of things already in place, but there needs to be better communication with the community in regards to that. And under the capital improvement plan, one of the big asks that I had heard was for our community to build a brand new one-building high school that is technologically advanced.
So you see, your vision then is a one-building high school that's technologically advanced.
Yes.
Got it. Did you put that up there?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Actually, I think I put that under future development, though I could move it over to capital improvement.
Okay, got it.
Oh, I did put under capital improvement, okay.
All right, thank
That
you
was
very
a
much.
big ask, and then, from the middle school redesign perspective, what I hear.
Please, thank you.
what I hear at the middle school redesign is, we are funneling out our high-performing academic students, so they like to see GAP or the advanced programs at all middle schools. Right now, we only have it at one middle school level. So I think that was one piece in the middle school redesign that was missing. That is there. And then, in general, the high school transformation, I have to say this for the students' perspective, they want an environment where they're not being yelled at, where the adults are not yelling at them, where the adults are also not barriers and saying no or not helping them out. So they're looking for a more supportive environment, and that's very important to them at the high school transformation.
So you envision in 5 years an environment at the high school that's representative of respect, et cetera.
Mentorship.
That includes mentorship as a component, okay?
Hey, can I add to that? Is I know, Lucy, is I guess when we talk about vision, is I would be remiss not to mention, and I think you talked about this, Memory, is mutual respect, right? We talk about the students and what it is that they need, but we also need to talk about what it is that the staff needs. So I want an environment of mutual respect.
Got it. Excellent. Thank you very much. Did we miss any board members? Yes, sir.
So my concern or passion is that we see students in our elementary school that are engaged and teachers that are engaged with them. And so there's atmosphere, there's a learning environment that's taking place.
Yeah.
It starts to disappear for many students when they go to middle school and especially when they go to high school. So in this middle school and high school transformation, I would like to see us somehow working to engage the students who are losing that engagement that they had as little children in the elementary school. So somehow to work with those students, getting them and developing more classes so we can engage. I've been with some middle school students when they went out to the area vocational center, and all of a sudden their eyes lit up because they saw themselves in a role of an engineer or a welder or whatever. So somehow to re-engage the students that we lose after they leave middle school and start to get into high school. We start to lose some of them and we lose more of them as they get into high school because we want to keep those students engaged in learning and excited and engaged. So that's really my passion. And there's staff that can do that. There's some of our staff that can work with those students. So I would like to see that focus at middle school and high school. Well, we're doing it in many ways, but there's students that are dropping off. And I would like us to see those, work with those students, whether it's, specialties programs for them to re-engage them.
Got it. Excellent. Thank you so much. If I might just have a word of personal privilege here, I did a lot of work years ago in developing minority engineering pipeline. It was an effort with corporations, historically black colleges and universities, and government agencies. And one of the things that they used to talk about at that time is that drop-off that began to happen among minority kids. And they said that black boys began to drop out of the math science track around 2nd grade, and black girls around 6th grade. And so that whole engagement piece, keeping them engaged to be able to move towards STEM careers, was something that was very important. So thanks for sharing that. All right, any other comments from any of our board members as we get ready to close tonight? Yes, ma'am.
I've got
One more? Yes.
All students, and this would be for the curriculum writing.
All right.
All students will read at grade level before they enter middle school.
All right, that's your vision. That's what you see. That's what you'd like to see in the next 5 years,
Yes.
right? All students are reading by the time they get it at grade level.
At grade level before going into middle
Before
school.
going into middle school. All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Board members, final moment. Any other final thoughts on this that you'd like to offer before we conclude tonight? Yes, sir.
Mr. Murphy, I have a lot of thoughts, but you kind of compile my thoughts over a few hours like this, we'll never be able to, give you the vision that I see in terms of what we're dealing with in District 60, in terms of some of the issues that we have, dealing with the students as well as the staff. And I just think that, you know, when you start looking at rounding the departments and whatnot, and I'm gonna keep saying, there's an equity issue. And some of the things that, I, as a board member, when I was elected to get on the board, I see, we still not addressing those issues. And as a result of that, we're losing our kids, because of the fact they're not getting the resources and the support that they need to deal with some of their, as we keep saying, their social and emotional issues that they have. The resources are not there. And, we know what's needed. And again, I applaud my administrators, but sometimes I hear from my administrators, but I'm not hearing what I think that the administrators are telling me that's needed. That I know that for those individuals that I see have some of the same trauma that I had when I was young, that the resources are not there for them. And so therefore, that's what I see as a board member. And I got on this board because of the fact that, not because I thought that I could help every student, but there are students that look like me, that have issues like me, that I thought that I could get on this board to make sure that, the dollars go towards those kids to help them develop and get to where they need to be in life. And so, and I think that's kind of missing for me. Anyway, that's just my vision of what I see.
Thank you, sir. So, board members, thank you for your participation tonight. Thank you for leaning into this discussion and offering your perspectives about the vision, shaping the vision, the contours of the vision for 2028. Really appreciate that. As Dr. Cesario said earlier, this is the first of a whole series of meetings that we're going to be doing with the community, stakeholders, organizations. We'll be doing it in various formats, some live in person, some virtual, surveys, so trying to get the voice of the constituents that will be important input and fodder for the 2028 plan. Just want to do a quick poll to get your sense as board members, since this is the first one. Was this a useful process for you? And how could it be even better? Just real quickly. Was this a useful process for you? Yes?
Oh, sorry, thank you. To me, once again, it's also about time, right? To echo Mr. McBride's thing is that there's a lot more I want to stick on these boards. And there are a little bit more categories that I'd like to see as well, right? So trying to squeeze this in an hour and a half, I think was a little too quick for me. I'd like 2 hours, but you know me, I'd stay here before. So gotta do the work, right? So that's what we're here to do.
Need more time is what.
Yep,
Okay,
that's
got it.
one, that's the only thing that I would recommend in this whole process, but thank you.
Thank you so much. President Ewing? I'm sorry.
So definitely productive. We just have to get into an effective cadence. I also think there was, in my opinion, not enough of looking at, and I was late, I admit it, I'm coming from work, I apologize, but looking at the current issue, right? Is because even when we go out into the community, we're going to be asking individuals to give comments and to reflect. But if we don't actually paint the entire picture of where we are, how do we actually set a vision for where we want to get to? And so while I 100% think this was effective, I think as we move forward, we have to do a little bit more time of, hey, this was Destination 2022.
Yep.
This is where we succeeded. This is where we did not succeed. This is where we are today, the facts, and this is where we want to go. And I think that will allow individuals to engage in a much more productive way. Is because I think for many of the time, we're looking to point fingers as what is the cause of the person or the thing or the situation. And reality is a big issue, and it's going to take a collective response. So, but thank you. It helped me, the SWOT analysis, but again, I would take a little bit more time diving into where we currently are.
All right. Thanks so much. Yes, Ms. Hannah?
Okay. Strategic planning is always a good process. And thank you for facilitating, because, it's not just a fly-by-night, process. And from what I've known over the 20 years of strategic planning.
Yes.
But what I'm going to say, that even though this was a board activity, okay, I am a community person. I will advocate for the community. The community is valuable. The community sends their children to all of us, and they should be from ground level. Ground zero, they should be involved. So.
Thank you very
yes.
much. Mr. McBride, did you have a comment there as well?
I totally agree with Ms. Hannah's comments that the community should be involved.
Yes.
And I totally agree with that, because number one, we don't know everything. We just own 7 bodies on this board. And I do know that this conversation we having now, we need to collectively, as board members, when we go in closed session, these problems we already know, but we never discuss any of these problems, even to try to come up with ideas as opposed to how to deal with some of these issues. We do everything but that sometimes, and I think that's missing. I think as a board that we should be at least having some kind of engaged about, we know we got substance abuse issues, so what are we gonna do about it? We need to talk about that. We know we got kids that's fighting all the time. We need to talk about it. What's the strategy for that? We don't talk about these things. But what we do, we act on them. We put them out of school, we put them on contracts, we do everything except what we can do in terms of having some intervention pieces through conversation to figure out what we can do to stop the bleeding.
And if I may just piggyback just briefly, you cannot fix a problem if you don't acknowledge that there is a problem.
Sure.
And so if we don't acknowledge that we have problems, that's what professionals are supposed to do. If we got problems, and let's work on the problems. So.
Thank you.
And
Did you have a
Mr.
final
President,
comment?
I'm sorry, just really quick, just to add on to the conversation. So, we have known about this board meeting for about a good month, right? And we've also been talking about doing this meeting for at least a good year, right? We should already have been having discussions out in our community as board members for the past year about what it is that they wanted to see in this past year, right? So we have been talking about this. So as board members, we need to also make sure that we are doing our due diligence, going out there and talking to our communities, because I came here with a list of what the students wanted, what the parents wanted, what the community wanted, and organizations wanted, right? And that's why I said I wanted more categories, right, and more time, right? Because there's a lot more stuff to go on here, but this is also something that we have to do, and this is what we're also elected here to be the voice as well. So I just want to add on to that, because there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of irons, and we got to keep moving, and we can't stop this train.
Great. We're gonna conclude here. Mr. Riddle?
Yeah, I just, I thought that, we had here, item 1, build off Destination 2022. And I thought maybe we should have looked at briefly what our Destination 22 plan said.
Yes.
And where we met some of those goals and where we fell short. So we could actually build on and then have some ideas of where we're moving. So maybe in the next session, I think this is valuable, but we'd like to get a little more granular with what did 2022 say? And where are we gonna, I know we're gonna shoot toward that, but,
Sure.
So we have some idea where we're moving. So it's not just generalities again, but this is a good start.
Good, well taken. I'm sorry, ma'am.
I just had one point. When we were talking about our weaknesses,
Yes.
we failed to mention that we are very reactionary and we are not proactive. We seem to jump from one fire to the next fire to the next fire, and while we snuff the fire out a little bit,
Sure.
it's not totally gone and then it flares back up 2 months later, and we have the same issue over and over.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for your feedback, Ms. Placencia, Superintendent.
Yeah, I just want to say, before I turn it over to Dr. Cesari, I want to thank the board. The board had asked to set the ends, right, so that we could look at the means to get there. This is the first of many workshops we're going to have. The strategic planning process is a long process. It is not done overnight. And to clarify, I want to state again, but Mr. Barber, you did state this. This is the initial meeting with the board. Before we have any other meetings with stakeholders, we engage the board who gives the vision and the direction for the district. So this is the initial vision. The initial meeting. There will be other meetings where we host at schools and different organizations where we will engage stakeholders within the Waukegan community. So this is just the beginning. It is not the end. There will be a series of communications and events that lead from this, from board giving dialogue, to teachers giving dialogue, to leadership giving dialogue, to parents giving dialogue, to students giving dialogue, to community activists giving dialogue, so that we can get so much input. And if we go back to when Destination 2022 was created, you see that there was many opportunities for our community to come together to discuss the vision, the mission, our core beliefs, what they felt the big rocks were, how do we get there, etc. So this is just the beginning of our new strategic plan that we will be implementing to 2028, not the ending, and I just wanted to reiterate that.
Excellent, thank you very much. Dr. Cesario? Go
Well,
right ahead.
yeah, thank you, Mr. Bembry, for facilitating this. I appreciate it. I think that the superintendent closed it out pretty well. I'd like to thank the board and the members of the community that are here and also at home for participating, and just underscore the fact that this is a process and that this is not just a one and done, and that appreciate the feedback. I think that just like it was stated earlier, Destination 2022 definitely needs to be revisited. We need to look at it. I also want to highlight the fact that part of the proposed changes, if you look at the title, we talk about Destination 2028, but in the objectives, we talked about that this is a proposed plan. We never said that it was going to be the plan. It's a proposed plan. But part of that has the fact that we would be looking at this regularly and discussing it regularly, measuring it regularly. Not just creating a plan and having words on a page that are just looked at, periodically, but really something that's looked at with regularity, and that there are goals that are SMART T goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely, inclusive, and equitable. And so there are a lot of great things going on, and there are definitely a lot of things that we need to work on. I think that I love the fact that I was hearing the board say, we need to go back and look at Destination 2022, right? We need to do that. We need to talk about what we did and what needs still to be done. And I think that there is a lot to be proud of, and there's a lot that we have to work on. But I think we can go back at it and talk about what we're continuing from. That it's not just something that was done and now we're forgetting about it, but rather we're building off of it. So that's just what I wanted to kind of reinforce and remind you.
Along the way, while we having all these meetings and putting this plan together, I say, along the way, while we're having these meetings and putting the plans together, I would also like for us to start putting pieces towards the end of what the end that we're trying to get to, instead of just talking, while once we're talking and we find some of these areas are really serious, we don't have to wait until we get to the end. We can start putting pieces towards, you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just want to respond to that really quickly. That's part of the reason why we had some of these things here, that, we've already been implementing some of the middle school redesign pieces. Some of that's already been happening. Engaging student voice. There was a wonderful forum with the middle schools that happened recently at the end of the year with Mr. Clarence Berry. He had Rita Mayfield out there. The mayor was out there. There were some other representatives. It was a very nice event. but that was the start of giving student voice, right? And part of that plan. The high school transformation plan is also something that's being implemented. So some of these things are already being put into motion and are already happening. A lot of the capital improvement pieces and other things. So I just wanted to say, you're absolutely right. I'm reiterating, not, just saying that that's happening.
And Dr. Cesario, also with the high school transformation, you say that there's things that are happening, and I'm just wondering if with the strategic plan at this point, just beginning, are we moving a little too fast to implement the high school transformation successfully? I'm not talking about hitting and missing. I'm talking about successfully. And if it takes a year, it's okay. We don't wanna just put something in there just to say we put it in there. You understand what I'm saying?
And I agree wholeheartedly with you. As I said before, Destination 2022, a lot of this work came out of existing goals that were part of Destination 2022 that have developed and are now moving forward into, that will be a part of what is already happening. I was just referencing what Mr. McBride had said, that we gotta put words we have to put actions to words, right? And with some of them, we already have some of that in motion. Just like I had mentioned with Destination 2022, a lot of this, there's a lot of capital improvement work that has happened. I think people can see that, right? But, and then there's curriculum work that has already started that's gonna continue to carry over, right? And that was also part of Destination 2022. Those goals were in there. So there is nothing was done with haste in terms of, it was inclusive and built up. And the other piece to this that I think is of critical importance is that there are goals that are attached to it, and they're regularly revisited so that we can make adjustments if necessary. If something isn't working or needs additional support, that support can be placed there and it can be addressed, or we can adjust the goal. If we need to move ahead because we're further advanced than we thought we were gonna be, or if we need to pull back because of what the data is telling us, then that we have the ability to do that. And especially with Destination 2028, that's gotta be part of it. We have to have the ability to measure this regularly, celebrate areas of success, identify areas of needed growth and support, make adjustments if necessary. It cannot be a static plan for 6 years. We have to be, if we're making the goals, we say we make the goals, we adjust it to move forward.
I'm kind of like, Lucy, where she said that there were a lot of other categories.
Yeah.
That we need to do, and
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this could be, this could be 1A, and then we come back for
Yep.
1B.
Yeah.
Do another one of these before.
So what I'm gonna ask from the board, and it kind of goes back to a little bit of Mr. McBride's point, and then a little bit of Lucy's point, is I need us as board members to commit to doing the pre-work. So I'm perfectly fine with us coming and having another meeting, but if there are things that you wanna see, hear, touch, feel, look at, I wanna know about them in advance so that we can plan it to have a productive meeting. Because if there are other categories that you feel outside of these 6 that weren't addressed, I need to know about them and I need to have them included so that the team can look at them and be ready to report on them. If there are topics, Mr. McBride, that you feel like we're not discussing, there's wellness committee that deals with a lot of information. There are mental health committee, other committees, policy committees, all of that work is going on. So just because we don't talk about it during the 4-hour board meeting doesn't mean that it's not being worked on. And so maybe we need to have a better way of bringing those conversations to the forefront. So what I will say is if we commit to doing another meeting, which we already have, is I need the board members to do the pre-work of sending in suggestions, requests, and information that they need to see. And once we do that, we can have a very productive meeting with Mr. Bembry facilitating in order to walk us through and streamline that conversation. I'm gonna let Adriana respond, then I'm gonna bring up the agenda and we're gonna adjourn.
If we're gonna do another meeting and we have worksheets like this, I would have loved to see what everyone says beforehand or after the fact, like if we can all just take pictures of what we all wrote and then send it to everybody, cause we can't, like the reasons we can't share all of what we're thinking is because that's against OMA, and that's the frustrating part of all of it.
We got it, we're gonna send it out.
How does the Latinx community understand everything that's going on at this meeting? Is it being translated?
Yeah, on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Like an auto translator.
Well, thanks again, thanks to the community, thanks for the folks that are here. I'm gonna turn it over to Board President Ewing to close us out.
I'd like a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. McBride, second by Ms. Wozniak. All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay.